having me, Shan.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how you wound up as the executive director for the foundation?
I've been executive director for about 8 years, and I started off as the director of the foundation, and basically what we did at that point was took the money in from donations and made sure it was getting to the right programs for our donors, and also raising money for scholarships mostly. And then when the position opened up to add a little bit more, we had a vice president for development. She left, and so the president asked me to take over her position. It then sort of encompassed the alumni and scholarships and a little bit of everything that we do in the foundation. And I just really felt humbled that I was asked to take over the position, because it's something that really helps make the campus work, certainly. And I have an amazing staff, including you as a co-worker, and you've always done an amazing job for everything that we've produced with the foundation. And the rest of the staff is just top-notch, really professional and caring for what they're doing. So I have felt, as the executive director, I've been very, very fortunate to have a team that works as a team and not just as independents, but really together and helping each other.
Now, you came out of a position of pretty heavy responsibility over at National Geographic, is it?
I did. I've had a very interesting career. I had a pretty steady career at National Geographic for 17 years as a senior designer for them. I've met my husband there, who was a writer and photographer and editor for them, so that was kind of a lucky thing as well. And after the 17 years, I decided I wanted to take a little bit of a look around sort of with my own life and where I wanted to go. And from there, I sort of dibbled and dabbled in different things. I opened up businesses along the East Coast for a designer out of New York. And I worked at a seminary for 3 years and ran a major art and academic program for them, pulling in all the different religions so people learn about each other through the arts. And I've always been involved with the arts in some way or another.
So, and you're talking about your past careers, there's a real thread of service that runs through it. Could you talk a little bit about where that comes from? Well,
you know, I really sort of attribute it to both my parents, to be honest with you. Both were in service areas at one point or another. My father was in the military, as was his father, and on my mother's side of the family, the same thing, going back to the days of George Washington. So that's a service for your country, and that's what I grew up with, you know, loving this country and being willing to protect it if the need were there. My mother, on the other side, had this wonderful touch with people who were not as fortunate as we, and we would go out to meet them and to help them in any way that we could. And so by my mom's side of sort of the local giving, and my father's just sort of the general giving of life and to each other as neighbors, it just sort of was drilled into me in a very positive way. And I never felt pressured, I never felt pushed.
And speaking of your father, you kind of sat at the crossroads of history when you were a young girl growing up in Berlin.
I did, as a matter of fact. My father was stationed first in Heidelberg, and we were there for about 1.5 years, and then he was asked to go take over the command in Berlin. It was a pretty scary time. We thought that all of us would have to be airlifted out, certainly, to either the United States or someplace else in Germany, just to get out of there, because we didn't know how fast it would escalate and how serious it would be. And as we all know, it was serious at times, and times it kind of calmed down. But I will say that as a young child, you could look over the wall, and you could see into East Berlin, and you could see these people who were so destitute. They really were. They almost looked gray, you know, no color. And they would be looking out the windows. They had nothing to do. They couldn't go on for their educations because it was not encouraged. Then you'd see just literally right across the wall, and you'd see, it was almost like black and white and then color. You know, almost like The Wizard of Oz, where it starts off in black and white, and then she gets to Oz, and it's all these beautiful colors. And it was really almost like that, and the people were joyous and thankful and everything else. So it was difficult to see that. And so when the wall finally did come down, it was just a gift to all of us, you know, one, who were there, but also the people that saw the awful situations that these people had to live in, and that now they could live in something was much, much better. So I feel, being that part of history, I mean, you know, how many people get to do that? Not very many. So I feel very fortunate.
Okay, let me ask you the tough question.
Uh-oh.
What would you say to an alumni who, when asked to give, would say, well, I already gave to the college. I paid my tuition. I got my degree. Why should I give now?
I think, you know, most people, unfortunately, most of our alums don't realize, because we haven't educated them the way we should have, that they still think the state is paying for most of our bills, and the state is not. They're paying a very small portion. So we're going to pretty soon, within the next 10 years, if we don't continue to get support from our alumni, we're going to become a semi-private college and have to raise the money in other ways. So what would I say to them? I'd say, you were fortunate enough that Fort Lewis gave you the foundation you needed to become a successful business person. Won't you trust that and do this for somebody else coming up that may not have the opportunities that you did because they can't afford education unless they get a scholarship or something else that will help them get through. I realize when students get out, they have a lot of, as you said, debt, a lot of loans they have to pay back, and we don't expect them to immediately pay back. We don't go and say, hey, how about $100? We'll say, if you can't do it now, the next time you think you can, even if it's $5, 5 cents, whatever you think that you can afford, give back to the college.
Again, thank you so much, and I think I speak for the school and the foundation when we say thank you so much for your many years of service to our community and to the school and to the students.
Well, it's been my honor to do it. It's a wonderful place to be. The people, as I mentioned here, are just top-notch. I couldn't imagine working with any better people. And the school will thrive because of the team that runs Fort Lewis.